Hello, everybody, and welcome to Atheist Sunday School, your one-stop shop for everything Atheist Sunday and school. And boy, do we have a show for you today.
Wow, we're still in Psalms.
Yeah, we're still in Psalms.
Woo!
Kind of a bummer, but we're making our way through the book. It shouldn't be. I mean, it's going to be quite a few more weeks. But percentage-wise, we're making our way through. We are actually, I think we're kind of nearing the end of the second book of Psalms. I guess we're halfway through the second book. The third one is not very long at all. Yeah, hopefully this flies by.
We can hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't we get into the 100-point show?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yep, let's do it to it.
All right. Who was the inaugural WWE Universal Champion?
When?
Well, it's pretty recent.
Kofi Kingston.
It was not Kofi
Why
Kingston.
isn't it ever Kofi Kingston?
Well, if I asked who beat Daniel Bryan this past WrestleMania, then it would have been Kofi Kingston.
Okay. Can you ask that?
No.
Ah, man.
Oof.
The answer is Finn Balor.
Wow. All right. I've got a difficult 100-point show question for you.
All right, let's do this.
Did disgraced billionaire Jeffrey Epstein kill himself?
I'm going to go with no.
Ooh, well, you see, the official narrative states that he did, so
Oh.
you don't get 100 points.
Oh,
Officially.
man.
But unofficially, you get 100 points.
Great.
Yeah, here's some 100 points under the table.
Thanks.
So,
Thanks
yeah.
for those. I've always wanted these. I will not show them to anybody. Nobody saw that
Nobody
transaction.
knew.
It never happened.
It never happened.
What are you talking about?
All
What are
right.
we talking about? We are talking about the Bible today. We are talking about Psalms.
All right,
Today.
I have a way that
Yes.
the folks in the chat can get 100 points, all four of them,
Ooh,
supposedly.
all right.
Okay. What is the promo code right now for our Teespring that's still going?
Yes.
Until the end of this month, I believe.
Until the end of the month. If you know the promo code, you get 100 points.
That's right.
That's
Instead
right.
of me typing it in.
Yeah,
You can
or
type
you
it.
can type it in.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. All right.
So announcements.
Some announcements. Let's
Yes.
go.
I have finished the script for the Council of Constantinople video. I am hoping that I'm going to have the video done by Wednesday. After the show, I'm going to go record. So it should be coming out fairly soon, hopefully fairly soon. I don't think it'll be over 20 minutes. But you know what? It's still a good length, and it's a lot of history, and I really hope it was worth it.
Well, I
Over
hope so,
50?
too.
Did you say not over 50?
What?
How long did you say it would be?
No, it's not over 20.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
We wanted it to be
Ooh.
like 40.
Yeah, also, it wouldn't be over 50. If it
Yeah,
was-
I get
yeah.
that. Thanks.
And I have already posted the script to Patreon. So if you're a patron, you can go read that.
Oh, you should have given me a chance to go over the
Oh,
finished
well,
version.
I could always just, post
Yeah,
another one.
They'll edit it for you.
All right.
No way.
Where's our donation drive at? Like 470?
Yep,
or so?
still 470.
Ooh.
Still going.
Well, once we hit 666, I was reading some
stuff on alchemy.
Yeah, I was reading some
Nice.
Taoist stuff, the Bao Puzi or something like that. And it's all like Taoist alchemy. And they explain a process where you take sulfur and you make it white, and then you can make it into black sulfur again.
All right.
That might be worth looking at.
Just
We're
not
trying to make
red.
gold.
Just not red salt. No, red sulfur's fine. I thought, it's phosphorus I'm thinking of either way. Never mind. Okay. Sulfur's not great for you, though, in
Oh,
big
yeah.
quantities or anything.
There's a large amount of red
Oh,
phosphorus that's
and
required.
one more
doesn't
thing
match.
before we get started with the show proper. On Friday, we will obviously be continuing our reading of First Enoch.
Yes, we will.
We are going to be getting further into the animal apocalypse.
Yes.
And that's going to be quite a long show. So hopefully you guys can join us. So click that bell to make sure you get the notification. Because it's going to be a good episode, I think.
And if you don't click the bell, you can still find it by searching for our YouTube channel.
That works too.
Yep.
Either way, yeah, let's hop
into it. I have the King James version of the Bible.
I have the English Standard version of the Bible.
We also have the Robert Alter version of the Hebrew Bible, a translation with commentary.
We have the Holy Scriptures according to some Jews and the New King James Version.
And we also have Eerdman's commentary on the Bible.
Yes.
A lot.
It is a lot. It's pretty big. We also have from the New Interpreter's Bible, the New Testament Survey. We also have the Oxford Companion to the Bible. We have that, but that's about it.
We're not going to be using it.
No. We also have The Origins of Biblical Monotheism by Mark S. Smith, Psalms Old and New by Ben Witherington, and On the Book of Psalms by Nahum Sarna. And we are not using any of those today. We're just going to be using Alter's and Eerdman's because the other books do not have anything on the Psalms we are covering today.
Yes. Well, why don't I get into it then? Psalm 54. To the chief musician on Neganoth, a manchil, a psalm of David, when the Ziphites came and said to Saul, doth not David hide himself with us? I know there's a footnote in there about the Ziphites.
Yes. But one thing, your translation for the very first part of that, for the introductory part of that, it said for the what? For the who?
To the chief musician on Neganoth, a maskil, a psalm of David.
Okay.
When the Ziphites came and said to Saul, doth not David hide himself with us?
Yeah, Alter's translation is just for the lead player on stringed instruments.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't know what the thing you said was even.
Oh.
But now I know. I'm guessing it's a stringed instrument of sorts. Anyways, yeah, so the Ziphites. When the Ziphites came, the story alluded to is reported in 1 Samuel 23. David, in flight from Saul, is denounced by the Ziphites, in whose territory he has taken refuge. In the end, he manages to elude Saul's forces. Again, the general plea for God's help, conventional in a supplication psalm, has been editorially linked with a particular incident in the life of David that it fits only in part. The complaint, strangers have risen against me, verse 5, we'll obviously get to that one, could scarcely refer to Saul, who is hostile to David, but by no means a stranger to him or a foreigner in relation to him. And yeah, we've seen that pop up a few times before, where the editorial stuff is linked to some story from David.
Yeah. This being when David's on the run.
Yeah. The other one was when he was pretending to be crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Save me, O God, by thy name, and judge me by thy strength. Hear my prayer, O God. Give ear to the words of my mouth. For strangers are risen up against me, and oppressors seek after my soul. They have not set God before them. Salah. Behold.
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 God is mine helper. The Lord is with them that uphold my soul. He shall reward evil unto mine enemies, cut them off in thy truth. This is another instance where God does evil. David, presuming David is the so-called author, David recognizes this thing being done to his enemies as being evil and just asks for God to do it anyway.
Well, yeah, because they're paying back evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you were evil to me, so I'm going to be evil to you.
Yeah.
Which, in some cases is justified.
Yeah. It's really the message of Christianity, right? I will freely sacrifice unto thee. I will praise thy name, O Lord, for it is good. Even though saying God's name or even writing it in Judaism is, for he hath delivered me out of all trouble.
But there is actually a thing on the let me acclaim.
Okay.
So because the deliverance has not yet been accomplished, this gesture of sacrifice and thanksgiving at the end is a promise, not a declaration, as at the end of a Thanksgiving psalm. So I'm guessing that would... Okay, so I'm guessing you don't have to say your name. That's just kind of a Thanksgiving kind of thing.
For he hath delivered me out of all trouble, and mine eye hath seen his desire upon mine enemies. And that's the end of Psalm 54.
Quite a short one. But there is a note here. The Hebrew uses I in the singular. The rest of the clause says literally, quote, see in or against my enemies. The idiom ra'ab, see in, repeatedly occurs in Psalms in the sense of seeing one's enemies defeated and humiliated. So the translation adds the clearly implied defeat.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if that's clearly implied.
Oh, clearly.
I mean, no, I think it is implied.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Anyways, that was the end of Psalm 54. Quite a short one.
Yes, it was. Eerdmans didn't have nothing to say about it.
No. In fact, Eerdmans is going to have nothing to say until we get to Psalm 58.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I can just jump to Psalm 55.
Yep.
To the choir master with stringed instruments, a maskil of David. Give ear to my prayer, O God, and hide not yourself from my plea for mercy. Attend to me and answer me. I am restless in my complaint, and I moan because of the noise of my enemy, because the oppression of the wicked. For they drop trouble upon me, and in anger they bear a grudge against me.
So, Alter says, hearken, O God, to my prayer, and do not ignore my plea. He says, these opening words announce the poem as a psalm of supplication. As the text unfolds, however, the subject of the supplication seems to shift. In verses 4 through 9, the speaker appears to be set upon by armed enemies who terrify him and make him want to flee. References to battles and political treachery abound in verses 19 through 22. On the other hand, in verses 13 through 15, the speaker complains of a once dear friend who has betrayed him and whom he addresses in the second person. One can only guess whether two poems have been spliced together or in some other fashion confusion has been introduced in the editorial process. The perplexity is compounded by the fact that there are textual differences in verses 19 through 22, especially in the first half of verse 20.
All right, well, we will get there and we'll talk
get
about
there.
that one.
That was the footnote he had for the first
Weird.
verse. Yeah.
My heart is in anguish within me. The terrors of death have fallen upon me. Fear and trembling come upon me, and horror overwhelms me. So yeah, there's a lot of classic poetry here, because if we're looking at certain words in all of these cola, then it would, there's horror has come upon him, and trembling, and terrors, and anguish, and his enemies drop trouble and anger, and he talks about their oppression. So all that kind of poetic imagery. I don't know if it'd be imagery, but the poetic, what's the word I'm looking for?
Alliteration?
Well, it's not alliteration, but it's something. Structure, parallelism.
Symbolism?
Sure. And I say, oh, that I had wings like a dove, I would fly away and be at rest. Yes, I would wander far away. I would lodge in the wilderness, Selah. I would hurry to find a shelter from the raging wind and tempest.
So,
yeah, that Selah is placed kind of strangely.
Yes. first of all, the Salah is placed strangely, but second of all, this verse here, from the streaming wind and the storm. The Hebrew represented as streaming in this altar version. So'ah appears only here. It is presumably either a very rare word or a nonce word coined to echo the sound of sa'ar, storm, a phonetic effect replicated in this translation. So,
And the whole point of this this stanza, I guess, is saying, you know, everything sucks right now. My enemies are completely destroying me, overwhelming me, and if I could fly away, I would. Destroy, O Lord, divide their tongues, for I see violence and strife in the city. Divide their tongues. Does Alter have a different translation or a note for that?
Alter says, O Master, confound, split their tongue, for I have seen outrage and strife in the town.
Okay, so he just wants confusion, like, you know, Babel.
Yeah, and his footnote says, at this point and for the next 3 verses, the subject of complaint is not an external enemy, but a band of insolent scoundrels who have taken over in a town.
I don't know. That sounds like enemies, yeah. Day and night they go around it, on its walls, and iniquity and trouble are within it. Ruin is in its midst. Oppression and fraud do not depart from its marketplace. So they're talking about within the walls, where oppression and fraud don't depart.
Mm-hmm.
So within this city, it's just a really terrible city. It's a specific city. We don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But it is a specific city.
Yeah.
For it is not an enemy who taunts me, then I could bear it. It is not an adversary who deals insolently with me, then I could hide from him. But it is you, a man, my equal, my companion, my familiar friend. So that's interesting. He's saying that these people that are, or maybe this person, that is destroying the town and causing, you know, a whole bunch of shit to hit the fan in the town. He's, you know, it's somebody that he knows, apparently, or at least, you know, another person, probably of the same group as him, probably also a Jew. Anyways.
Alter says, were it a known enemy showing hostility, the speaker would have found a way to bear the insult, but it is his intimate friend who has turned against him.
Yeah, I'd still say that's an enemy if it was the same guy that we were talking about before. Or of the same, if they were talking about the same thing, in essence.
Well, that may be why Alter suggests that it may be 2 poems.
Right. But doesn't he point that out that it's later where that becomes more evident? He said it started with verse 19, right?
Yeah, verse 19 through 22 are the most troublesome.
Okay. Well, let's continue. We used to take sweet counsel together. Within God's house, we walked in the throng. Let death steal over them. Let them go down to Sheol alive. For evil is in their dwelling place and in their heart. Go down to Sheol alive?
Yeah, let's just take a walk.
Is that like hell and back again?
I don't know. May they go down to Sheol alive. It's like the opposite of the Enoch thing.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that, he just wants this person to suffer some torments.
Yeah.
And it looks like at this point, whenever this was written, Sheol had developed enough in its mythos to include something more than just separation from God.
Yes.
That's what it seems like. Because otherwise, I don't think they'd say for evil is in their dwelling place and in their heart.
Right.
But I call to God, and the Lord will save me evening and morning, and at noon I utter my complaint and moan, and he hears my voice. He redeems my soul in safety from the battle that I wage. For many are arrayed against me. God will give ear and humble them, he who is enthroned from of old, because they do not change and do not fear God. So now whoever he's talking about, or it seems like multiple people now, whoever he's talking about now seems to have been there for a while.
Yeah.
My companion stretched out his hand against his friends. He violated his covenant. His speech was smooth as butter, yet war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords.
What do you have for verse 20 in this version? Because you're beyond that, right?
Well, I just did 20 and 21 in mine. So I think
What is the exact wording of the first verse?
my companion stretched out his hand against his friends. He violated his covenant.
19 for you.
That's 20 for me.
Um,
You want me to read my 19?
yeah, you're 19. My 20.
God will give ear and humble them, he who is enthroned from of old, because they do not change and do not fear God.
Altars verse 20. Ishmael and Jalam and the dweller in the east, who never will change and do not fear God.
That's
What?
That's very
drastically
different.
Yes. He says the translation here adopts an emendation that has considerable scholarly support, turning this into a small list of the enemies arrayed against the speaker. The Masoretic text reads Yishmael Weya Anem Weyoshev Kadem. Literally and unintelligibly, God hears and answers them and is seated as of old. In the reconstruction, the first two words and the last two remain unchanged, but they are construed as gentilic names rather than references to God, and Weya Anam is amended to Weya Lam. Jalam is mentioned in Genesis 36:5 as one of the peoples descended from Esau.
Wow, okay. So can you read that verse again?
Ishmael and Jalam and the dweller. So from verse 19, you're 18.
Sure.
He has ransomed my life unharmed from my battle, for many were against me. Ishmael and Jalam and the dweller in the east, who never will change and do not fear God.
Wow. That is so different. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's continue. Now he's talking about, kind of like a snake in the grass type of person.
Yeah.
About his speech being smooth as butter, but his heart was, but war was in his heart.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, verse 22. Cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never permit the righteous to be moved. But you, O God, will cast them down into the pit of destruction. Men of blood and treachery shall not live out their days, but I will trust you. Are there any notes on that?
Men of bloodshed and deceit. These paired terms pick up at the end two different themes of the poem. Bloodshed recalling the imagery of swords and armed attack. Deceit hearkening back to the guile and deceit that never part from the town square.
What do you think about the unity of this psalm?
Meaning?
Like, do you think it was originally 2 psalms?
I'm going to guess that part of it was like an original skeleton, right? An original poem, and it got added on to over time. It's not necessarily the case that there are multiple poems,
Right.
right? because the parts that seem out of place are so short that I couldn't see them as standing on their own as a poem.
Sure. I mean, you just read a very short one. But yeah, I'm not sure because it seems like it jumps around a lot, so I can definitely see editorials in here. But I wouldn't say that shows 2 poems.
Right. I mean, unless one of them's like a haiku, right?
Ah, yes, those ancient Hebrew haikus.
No, it's just
Incredible.
So
it's
common.
a series of words that are meant to be placed in between others.
That's incredible.
I know that's
Of course.
and that's
It's like
naturally
all words.
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyways, that was Psalm 55.
And I'll get us into Psalm 56.
If you guys are enjoying the stream, be sure to drop a like,
Yeah.
subscribe, and
Share
share.
it with all your friends, family, neighbors, countrymen, ex-wives, estranged children, your elementary school teachers, if they're still alive.
Okay, your high school teachers.
If they're still alive. Your college teachers. If
Not your
they're-
middle school teachers.
Not your middle school
Your middle
teachers.
school
No one
teachers
likes
suck.
those.
Forget them. Forget them.
Okay, let's continue.
Anyway, to the chief musician upon Jonathalem Rekim.
Yes, let's talk about whatever that was.
Yes, what is Jonathalem?
Jonathalem Rehokim. This is one of the most mysterious of the musical terms in Psalms. The literal sense of the 3 Hebrew words is haunting. The mute dove of distant places. The great medieval poet Judah HaLevi responded to the evocativeness of the phrase in his poetry by turning it into a concrete image of Israel's exile. So I guess it's very vague, but it wouldn't be totally out of place with what we just read earlier
Yeah.
about, the dove, him becoming a dove and flying away from the trouble.
Yeah. A miktam of David when the Philistines took him in Gath. You remember David in Gath?
I think I do remember David and
I
Gath.
remember David and Gath.
Ah. What do you remember about David in Gath?
He started a war, didn't he?
Yeah, and he won it.
Yeah.
He had his tens of thousands. Be merciful unto me, O God, for man would swallow me up. He fighting daily oppresseth me. Mine enemies would daily swallow me up, for they be many that fight against me, O thou most high. What time I am afraid, I will trust in thee. In God I will praise his word. In God I have put my trust.
Oh, and yours says most high.
Yeah.
Mine just says oh high one,
Mhm.
and it is a little different because most high would be El Elyon.
Right.
But since this is oh high one, at least in Alter's translation, he also points out that it's not El Elyon. The translation here is only a guess and perhaps a strained one. The Hebrew marom means height and is not a general designation for God. An alternative would be to read mimarom, from the height or from above, which would make sense.
All right.
Yeah. Anyways, let's continue.
I will not fear what flesh can do unto me. Every day they wrest my words. All their thoughts are against me for evil. They gather themselves together. They hide themselves. They mark my steps when they wait for my soul. This guy sounds like he's being gang stalked.
It really does.
Shall they escape?
Like here's how I picture this. I picture this guy running through the city with fire everywhere around him, buildings falling, and people with pitchforks and other instruments of destruction following him.
Yeah.
It's a good movie
And they're
scene.
tracing his steps.
Yeah.
Ooh. Spooky. Shall they escape by iniquity? In thine anger, cast down the people, O God. Thou tellest my wanderings. Put thou my tears into thy bottle. Are they not in thy book? Which one?
So there's a note here, at least for my flagrant fate you yourself have counted out. Put my tears in your flask. Are they not in your counting? So the note here is, in the midst of a psalm chiefly made up of familiar formulas, we see a striking image, one that the Midrash duly elaborated, of a compassionate God gathering the tears of the sufferer in a celestial flask and counting every one. I don't know if that would be a compassionate God, but obviously the author is asking God to think of him. Like, consider me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. When I cry unto thee, then shall mine enemies turn back. This I know, for God is for me.
Oh, man, I thought that was going to go differently. Or the Bible tells me so. That would make no sense.
Right, right.
But that'd be great.
In God will I praise his words. In the Lord will I praise his word. In God have I put my trust. I will not be afraid what man can do unto me. Thy vows are upon me, O God. I will render praises unto thee, for thou hast delivered my soul from death. Wilt not thou deliver my feet from falling, that I may walk before God in the light of the living?
So that was the end of Psalm 56.
Yeah. Not really much to say about it.
Yeah, not a lot.
It's kind of a boring psalm.
I mean, other than it, yeah, I mean, at least I got the image of this guy being chased through town, and then he calls upon God, and everyone's like, "Oh no, God!"
Which is, of course, what happens
in like every psalm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, do you hear that?
I do hear something.
It seems so strange and surreal in here.
Ooh, it's almost as if...
Behold, I am your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and I want to let all you heathens and sinners know that I support this wonderful episode of Atheist Sunday School. Lawrence and Reuben try their very best to bring you the true glory of the Bible, and they need your help. They have provided links to their Patreon page and other social media just for you. Once again, my name is Jesus Christ, and this is Milwaukee Atheists. The Lord is with them. God bless.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ
Wow.
has come upon us. He has granted us with his holy light, his light of light, the Lord of Lords, other monikers for Jesus.
I've never seen anything like that before in my life.
Not even a little.
Not even once.
Anyways, let's hop into Psalm 57, shall we?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right. To the choir master, according to... Hold on. To the choir master, according to Do Not Destroy.
Great name.
A miktam of David when he fled from Saul in the cave.
So,
According to
It
Do
says,
Not Destroy. I
for
love it.
the lead player, Al Tashet, a David miktam when he fled from Saul to the cave. Alter says Al Tashet. Evidently, this is still another musical term, the meaning of which has been lost. The medieval Hebrew commentator David Kimchi ingeniously links it with David's rebuke to his men when they came upon Saul sleeping in their cave. Al tashitehu, do him no violence. The tie-in of the superscription with an episode in David's life seems to be an after-the-fact editorial maneuver. The poem is a general psalm of supplication, turning into a thanksgiving psalm at the end, as many others do.
I would say as most others do.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens so often.
Yeah.
Be merciful to me, O God. Be merciful to me. For in you my soul takes refuge. In the shadow of your wings I will take refuge, till the storms of destruction pass by. I cry out to God Most High. Is there a note for that one? I'm just curious about Most High.
I call out to God the Most High. For the next part of the verse thing, there's a note.
Okay, I'll get into that. I cry out to God Most High, to God who fulfills his purpose for me.
So, Alter says to the God who requites me. He says the translation reads with the Septuagint gomel, requites, instead of the Masoretic gomer, which means finishes. So the God who finishes me.
No, don't you get any ideas. This is a completely clean show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He will send from heaven and save me. He will put to shame him who tramples on me. Selah. God will send out his steadfast love and his faithfulness.
So, he who tramples me reviled me. Alter says, he says, the two Hebrew words here, heref, shoafi, seem syntactically out of place and are obscure in meaning. The safest construction without performing extensive surgery on the text is to read this clause as a parenthetical remark about the speaker's desperate plight, with the will send of the third verset picking up the will send of the first verset, both semantically and syntactically.
You know, this so far, I mean, I'm going to finish this this verse set and then
Yeah.
I'll add some commentary. My soul is in the midst of lions. I lie down amid fiery beasts, the children of man, whose teeth are spears and arrows, whose tongues are sharp words.
You have fiery beasts?
Yes, I do have fiery beasts.
I lie down among lions that pant for human beings. Their fangs are spear and arrows. Their tongue is a sharpened sword.
And there's no note on that.
No, he just talks about the imagery of the sword.
Okay. So I'm guessing.
Okay. I see. The sword image develops through a pun. The panting of the lions, because of that verb, lo hatim, is associated with the flame, lahat, of the whirling sword in Genesis 3:24.
That's right. Yeah. I was gonna mention that the flaming sword.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So it seems that this. I'm guessing then this might be written after Genesis. Then I mean it doesn't seem
definitely. I would assume so.
The tie is very weak. I suggest it's like a really slight one, and it's only like poetically.
But you wouldn't make a pun like that unless there was already an established term that was in use.
I guess, yeah.
Otherwise, it would just be a nonsense word.
I lie down amid fiery beasts. Huh, interesting. I'd be very interested to see like the manuscript evidence for this, because it's totally possible that this was, kind of a later edition. Because if we look at it, this one has like all this really concrete, destructive, powerful imagery, right?
Right.
And then before it was just like, God's going to come after you.
Yeah.
Anyways. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth. They set a net for my steps. My soul was bowed down. They dug a pit in my way, but they have fallen into it themselves. Selah, ha, ha, ha.
So instead of his head being down, Alter says they pushed down my neck. He says the verb in the received text is in the singular.
My soul was bowed down. So
my soul was bowed down. So they pushed down my neck. He says the verb in the received text is in the singular. Either it is a scribal error and should have been in the plural, or it reflects the use of the third person singular as an equivalent of the passive my neck was pushed down. The most compelling sense of nafshi here is not my life or me, but my neck, because the whole context is one of physical entrapment, the net and the pit.
Yeah, and then they fell into it themselves. Salah, ha, 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 ha. That's him laughing. That's his evil laugh.
Ooh.
My heart is steadfast, O God. My heart is steadfast. I will sing and make melody. Awake, my glory.
So apparently when he says, my verse 8, my heart is firm, O God, my heart is firm, let me sing in him.
Mm-hmm.
He says these words signal a translation or a transition, but it is by no means necessary to infer, as some scholars have, that they mark the beginnings of a separate poem. The speaker, having brought the expression of his distress to a climax, now affirms his unwavering confidence in God's saving power, to move from supplication to thanksgiving. So apparently some scholars have inferred that this was a separate poem from here on.
I mean, I can kind of see why.
Mm-hmm.
But also with the inclusion of, that kind of imagery again at the start of the verse set, I don't know. So it might just be that, the entire poem is laid out in such a way where it makes sense. So I think, we would have to look at it closer. I don't really think we have necessarily the time for that. It'd be kind of a boring show. So we'll pass by that. Anyways, awake, my glory. Awake, O harp and lyre. I will awake the dawn.
So Alter says, awake, O lyre. Awake, O lute and lyre. I would waken the dawn. He says the Masoretic text means kavodi, my glory, or perhaps my being. But one manuscript, as well as the Syriac, reads kinori, my lyre, which seems more likely, yielding an incremental repetition of terms for stringed instruments in this verse.
Well, I wouldn't say that's necessary, because in the previous one, we had, my heart is steadfast, then my heart is steadfast again, and then I will sing and make melody. So it's not necessarily. I mean, I could see that, but I don't know. They already have the parallelism with awake and all of them. I will give thanks to you, O Lord, among the peoples. I will sing praises to you among the nations, for your steadfast love is great to the heavens, your faithfulness to the clouds. Be exalted, O God, above all the heavens. Let your glory be all over the earth.
Yes.
So I feel like this, this last part of what we just read is probably connected to the first half of the psalm. In any case, it definitely closes it off.
Alter has a little bit here. He says, the rousing of the dawn at the eastern edge of the sky now leads the speaker to envision God's benign presence over all the heavens. The Hendiadys, I guess, Hesed ve'emet, as in verse 4, means something like steadfast kindness, literally kindness and truth. Here, the two terms have been divided between the first and the second verset. Steadfast is added in the translation to truth to suggest something of what they meant when joined together. He furthermore says about the last verse, verse 6 is repeated here verbatim as a closing refrain. But given the celestial focus of verse 11 and its anticipation at the end of verse 9, God's looming over the heavens takes on added meaning at the end.
And that is the end of Psalm 57. If you guys are enjoying the stream, drop a like. I almost said if you guys are enjoying the like, drop a stream.
Enjoy a like.
Yes, enjoy a like.
Forget to don't
from us.
sub us.
Yep.
Always.
Yep.
More English.
You're welcome.
That's what we do. That's how we do it.
Yes. So let's hop right into Psalm 58.
Yep. To the chief musician, Altaskith, a miktam of David. Does it say anything about Altaskith? Probably another unknown instrument or musical term.
Probably, yeah, because he doesn't even mention it.
Okay.
He has Altaskith, but doesn't actually talk about it, strangely.
Do ye indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? You know, a lot of psalms will be addressing God, right? This one outright is addressing a congregation of people. Obviously, this
Well,
is
it's not
not
necessarily
taking place in the temple if it's presented as a Psalm of David.
Well, it's not just, some people, because this says, do you chieftains indeed speak justice, in rightness judge humankind? So I actually have a note about this from Erdman's. So the verb judge, which occurs both in verse 1 and 11, and the expression on earth, which occurs both in verse 2 and 11. That's just a note. Verse 1 deals with earthly rulers. The word, I'm going to get to this one in just a second. The word gods in verse 1 refers to earthly rulers. And I think he actually does have a note on that one. The English reader should be warned that the Hebrew text of this psalm, from this verse to the end, with the sole exception of the ferocious verses 7 and 11, is badly mangled. As a result, a good deal of translation is necessarily conjectural or must rely on emendation. A literal rendering of the Hebrew for this verse set would be, indeed mutinous justice you speak. The translation reads elim, chieftains, instead of elem, mutinous. So that, it's interesting that they're pointing out how it would be gods in verse 2 in Erdman's, but then it's not really talked about in this one. So perhaps they're using a different manuscript, or they just thought the word was something else, because it is very close to God.
Yeah. Yea, in heart ye work wickedness, ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Their poison is...
They're evil from birth.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
Yep, definitely.
Don't be like one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it.
I don't think they have a choice.
No, they don't.
No. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear.
So the peculiarity of this simile, which continues into the next verse, could conceivably derive from a piece of ancient folk zoology that we no longer possess. It is possible that the viper was thought to be deaf because it has no external ears. The wicked resemble the viper both in being venomous and in turning a deaf ear, in their case, to the pleas of their victims.
Ah.
So that's a new idiom.
Yeah.
If you want to say someone's an asshole that isn't listening to anyone.
They're deaf as a snake.
It's deaf viper. That's you.
Yep. Which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. Break their teeth, O God, in their mouth. Break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Lord. Let them melt away as waters which run continually. When he bendeth his bow to shoot his arrows, let them be as cut in pieces.
So actually, I want to just jump back for just a little bit. So what's your introduction again to this?
The chief musician, Altesketh, a miktam of David.
Okay, this makes perfect sense now. All right. So this is actually translated as in the English Standard Version and in Erdman's as "do not destroy," the one that we were wondering about before, and the meaning is not clear.
Okay.
Darn.
As a snail which melteth, let every one of them pass away, like the untimely birth of a woman, that they might not see the sun. Before your pots can feel the thorns.
And that's a stillbirth, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
He shall take them away as with a whirlwind, both living and in his wrath. The righteous shall rejoice when he seeth the vengeance. He shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked. You know, we
Wow.
haven't had a foot washing reference. in
Yeah,
quite
it's been a while.
while.
And it's in blood.
Yeah.
Double fetish.
So that a man shall say, verily, there is a reward for the righteous. Verily, he is a God that judgeth the earth. That's the end of Psalm 58.
Yes. So let's talk about that one for just a little bit here. The end of it. Yeah, there are gods judging the earth. The psalm concludes with another oddity in the Hebrew text. Elohim, which is always treated as a singular despite its plural form when it refers to one God, here is joined to a plural verbal form, a traditional view that the term sometimes means magistrates stands on shaky ground. Either the usage here is anomalous, with the actual meaning there is a God judging the earth, or, as the translation assumes, the concluding statement is from the viewpoint of people in general, man, and not necessarily monotheistic people. According to their own theological lights, all will conclude that there are just gods on the earth. So this probably helps explain why, at least in Erdman's, they talked about God referring to the chieftains in the first verse.
Yes.
This would really tie it all nicely together.
Yes, it would. Well, with that being said, it's time for the next psalm. And hey, if you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like. I see 16 viewers. I should see 16 likes or dislikes. It doesn't really matter. Either one helps us out. So let's get into it.
Yeah, either way, it's great and we love it.
Do I need Aaronmans for this one?
No.
Okay.
We'll need for the next one. And Justin, tell your wife I said thank you.
Very good.
Wow.
Anyways, let's hop right into Psalm 59.
Yes.
To the choir master, according to Do Not Destroy.
It's another Al-Taskath.
Yeah. A miktam of David, when Saul sent men to watch his house in order to kill him. Do you remember that one? Because I don't.
This is a
I sorta
reference to 1 Samuel 19, when Saul sends killers to stake out David's house and murder him. In the event, the decisive help of his wife, Michal, Saul's daughter, David manages to escape. The tenuous connection with our psalm is the speaker's sense that his life is threatened. For example, verse 4, but as the poem unfolds, it looks as though physical attack is actually a metaphor for vicious slander. David would scarcely refer to Saul's men as all the nations.
Yeah, that would be weird.
Which,
All the nations. Those four guys.
which appears later on in verse 6 for me.
Deliver me from my enemies. Oh my God. Protect me from those who rise up against me. Deliver me from those who work evil, and save me from bloodthirsty men.
So, Alter says both of these lines of poetry are cast as neat chiasms. Save me, A, from my enemies, B, those who rise against me, B, make me safe, A, save me, A, the wrongdoers, B, men of bloodshed, B, rescue me, A. So it's all like, save me, rescue me, help me.
Yeah, all the same stuff. For behold.
Behold.
Oh,
If you type look, all caps,
jeez.
LOOK, into our Teespring coupon.
When you're
code
ordering something
section,
from our Teespring and you use the promo code LOOK, you'll get 10% off.
10% off.
It's amazing.
It's
You're
not
gonna love
quite
it.
behold.
It's not quite behold. It's the discount behold.
Yep.
Discount.
Discount behold.
Yeah. Actually, the other behold was a bigger discount.
Yeah.
But it was a more behold
Yes.
than the look. Anyways, that sentence made no fucking sense. For behold, they lie in wait for my life. Fierce men stir up strife against me. For no transgression or sin of mine, O Lord, for no fault of mine, they run and make ready. Awake, come to meet me and see. So he is thinking he is completely, guiltless of whatever it is, but the people are still chasing after him, apparently.
Of course.
They want to get him. You, Lord God of hosts, are God of Israel. Rouse yourself to punish all the nations.
So Altars says, and you, Lord, God of armies, God of Israel, awake to make a reckoning with all the nations.
Okay, so it's not that he is informing God that he is in fact the God of Israel.
Right.
It's just another identification. Okay.
Yeah.
Rouse yourself to punish all the nations. Spare none of those who treacherously plot evil. Selah. Each evening they come back howling like dogs.
So the muttering or growling anticipates the malicious speech of the next verse. As elsewhere, dogs, singular in Hebrew, is a pejorative concept.
Yeah, definitely. Although I remember in Leviticus or in, I think in Deuteronomy 2, it was used to talk about the church prostitutes, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you dogs.
You dogs, yeah.
Yeah.
Dog. I'll never do that again.
Never do that again.
Yeah, each evening they come back howling like dogs and prowling about the city. There they are, bellowing with their mouths, with swords in their lips, for who, they think, will hear us? So
the
these
implication
enemies,
seems to be that they fear no human or a divine judge, and so feel free to pronounce harmful slander without compunction.
I don't even know if it's slander necessarily, but it's just some sort of harsh attack. But you, O Lord, laugh at them. You hold all the nations in derision. You hold all the nations in derision?
You mock all the nations.
Okay. That's better. Because you hold all the nations in derision is worse. You're an asshole. Oh, my strength, I will watch for you. For you, O God, are my fortress. My God, in his steadfast love, will meet me. God will let me look in triumph on my enemies.
So, my steadfast God, Elohe Hasti. For the most part, this translation represents hesed as kindness, but it equally means steadfastness. Commitment to keeping conventional obligations. The context of a plea to be rescued from enemies suggests that the latter meaning is the more salient one here. The same two Hebrew words occur again at the end of the psalm.
Anyways, where was I? 11, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. Kill them not, lest my people forget. Make them totter by your power and bring them down.
Make them wander.
Wander. That's better. O Lord, our shield.
Which would probably make this a post-exilic psalm. If they were...
Or perhaps this is just a... Well, yeah, it could be that.
Because Alter says here, the idea is that the frustrated enemies in a state of exile, neediness, and humiliation will be a living object lesson to others.
Right, and I mean, the thing is with wandering, it could also be a reference to the Exodus.
It could.
Which would also work for the, considering this, if this is in fact post-exilic, that would work. It could be both. For the sin of their mouths, the words of their lips, let them be trapped in their pride. For the cursing and lies that they utter, consume them in wrath. Consume them till they are no more, that they may know that God rules over Jacob to the ends of the earth. I'm guessing that's just supposed to be Israel.
Probably.
It just says Jacob.
So it would be the house of Jacob then? I'm guessing
No,
it
the
would be
city.
that.
No, that one dead guy.
Well,
The
it would
people?
be Israel ultimately, right?
Yeah, the people included.
Yeah.
Salah.
Salah.
Each evening they come back, howling like dogs and
Again.
prowling about the city. They wander about for food and growl if they do not get their fill. Yeah, that is what dogs do.
So, they come back at evening, they mutter like dogs. This verbatim repetition of verse 7 is either intended as a refrain or is an inadvertent scribal repetition. It seems ill-placed after the wish for total destruction of the enemies in the previous verse. It is conceivable that verse 14 is an interpolation, spliced in from another psalm.
Although it totally fit here.
Right.
Yeah.
Verse 14 being the one that's like, destroy, O destroy in wrath, that they be no more. And
Well, actually, yeah, because verses 6 and 14 are exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways. But I will sing of your strength. I will sing aloud of your steadfast love in the morning. For you have been to me a fortress and a refuge in the day of my distress. O my strength, I will sing praises to you. For you, O God, are my fortress, the God who shows me steadfast love.
That's the end of Psalm 59.
Yes, it is.
If you're enjoying the stream so far, like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the fun stuff.
All the good stuff, all the stuff we love.
Yeah. And I'll read Psalm 60.
Yes.
To the chief musician upon Shushanadoth, a miktam of David to teach when he strove with...
Yeah, that's another opaque term
Okay.
that refers to a musical instrument or a musical mode.
Oh. When he strove with Aram Naharaim and with Aram Zobah, when Joab returned and smote of Edom in the valley of Salt 12,000.
I'm trying to recall that.
I'm also trying to recall that. I remember Joab
Yeah.
returning.
Striking down the 12,000 of Edom. Was that?
There were
I feel like I remember
Edomites.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember that. Vaguely.
Doesn't ring a bell for me. Sorry.
I don't know. I'll Google it.
We'll figure it out. O God, thou hast cast us off. Thou hast scattered us. Thou hast been displeased. O, turn thyself to us again. Thou hast made the earth to tremble. Thou hast broken it. Heal the breaches thereof, for it shaketh. Thou hast showed thy people hard things. Thou hast made us to drink the wine of astonishment. Thou hast given a banner to them that fear thee.
2 Samuel 8.
Oh,
Just going back to the Valley of Salt thing. 2
Yes.
Samuel 8.
yes. We have covered that.
We
After
have.
the show, you can go watch it. Thou hast given a banner to them that fear thee, that it may be displayed because of the truth. Selah. That thy beloved may be delivered. Save with thy right hand and hear me. So the poem changes in its structure.
Yeah, it does. So the second strophe is cast in the form of direct speech. The strophe is written as a song of victory by a military commander. God is portrayed as the victorious commander to whom the whole land of Israel on both sides of the river Jordan belongs. He even controls the neighboring countries, Moab, Edom, and Philistia.
God hath spoken in his holiness. I will rejoice. I will divide Shechem and mete out the valley of Sukkoth. Gilead is mine, and Manasseh is mine.
Why would you want Manasseh?
I only want half of it. Ephraim also is the strength of mine head. Judah is my lawgiver. Moab is my washpot. over Edom.
Damn. That's a new insult.
Yeah. Over Edom.
Well, I mean, it's really old, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. Philistia, triumph thou because of me. Who will bring me into the strong city? Who will lead me into Edom? Wilt not thou, O God, which hadst cast us off, and thou, O God, which didst not go out with our enemies? Give us help from trouble, for vain is the help of man. Through God we shall do valiantly, for he it is that shall tread down our enemies.
Well, you know, that's the end of Psalm 60, and I do have a bit more commentary from Erdman's.
All right, throw it at me.
So this psalm creates the impression of a poem written after a defeat suffered by the people. It is impossible, however, to determine the exact historical context of the psalm. The final editors of the Psalter, who gave the psalm its title, A Miktam of David in the Valley of Salt, you know, that whole portion, linked the place names and nations mentioned in this psalm with David's victories as described in 2 Samuel 8. The part of the title that reads according to the lily of the covenant, hold on. According to the lily of the covenant? I don't see that in my translation, but okay.
It wasn't in mine.
Oh, wow. The part of the title that reads according to the lily of the covenant is probably an indication of the melody to which the psalm was sung and is found in variant forms in Psalms 45, 69, and 80.
It doesn't survive someday.
Psalm 65 through 12 is repeated in Psalm 108, 6 through 13. However, the verses have unique functions within the two psalms and should be interpreted within the context of the psalms in which they occur.
Yes.
Yeah. So his note there.
I mean, it's a psalm about, as Justin McClure points out, it's about conquering, claiming the land as their own.
Okay, so that, according to Shushan Eduth, I'm guessing that would be translated as that.
Probably.
At least according to Erdman's. Anyways, that is the end of the show for today. Let's
that it is.
Yeah, let's do a little bit of shilling.
We got an Amazon wish list. If you want to see us talk about any of the books that are on our Amazon wish list on the show or in individual shows,
or if you want to see a video about them, you know, go ahead and you can get us a book and we'll use it as a source.
Yep. And if you want to help us out a lot, you can go on to Patreon and
Patreon.
You can become a recurring donor.
All patrons get access to our scripts, and if you're donating $5 or more, you get all the books that we publish.
Yeah.
There's a poll that I'd like to do.
A poll?
Yes.
Okay, sure.
Would people be interested in a show, yes or no, about saints and relics?
About saints and relics?
Yes.
Like the thing we were talking about before the show?
Yeah, I thought that was cool, and we hadn't always, but I had discussed this with you multiple times.
Well, I guess, like a series on holy relics, you mean?
Well, specifically saints and their correlative relics, considering that we just went over that earlier. Sure. Relics have several tiers. If there was anything left of the saint at all, like his clothing or whatever, that's like a second tier, and first
if you
tier
have
is
his blood
or like his bones, yeah. So,
I'm going to be talking about some relics in the occult Nazism video.
Sure.
There are quite a few.
Yeah. So, I mean, we should do a quick poll on that. If people are actually interested in those, I could do videos on that.
I don't know if I trust you on that.
I'd take my frickin' time on it.
Okay.
I don't have to do any release date specifically, but every once in a while you could look forward to perhaps an episode on one specific saint and all of his relics, and maybe some historical facts and maybe relevance of why the Bible is interpreted a certain way because of his stuff. I mean, there's weird lenses that get formed because of saintdom. So anyways.
Yeah. So you guys can go ahead and answer that question. I'll probably post a poll on it later.
Yeah.
So once I do, go vote on that. Let's see. We got Facebook.
Patreon.
We got a Twitter. Yes.
Twitter?
Patreon. BitChute. We were talking about Patreon. That's right. If you are donating $10 or more a month, you get entry into the t-shirt giveaway. All patrons donating $20 or more a month, they get to join our hangouts and they get tickets to any events that we hold.
$50 or more a month, you get to be
on the
this
show. That's nuts.
Once a month.
And all the other stuff.
Yeah, and all the other stuff. And for $10,000, one of us within the United States, the continental United States, one of us will fly out and give you a high five or handshake or a fist bump or whatever, and then go back home.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Slots are open for the Friday Apocryphal podcast as well if you're so interested in seeing on that talk.
Yeah, you know, if you become a $50 patron, Lawrence will shoot you a message and be like, you want to be on FAP or ass?
Yeah.
Or whatever. You could switch it up.
Yeah, see, I send those messages to a lot of people, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with all that being said, we will
see you on Sunday, Friday.
Friday.
We'll see you
Saturday
soon,
is
everybody.
halfway between there. Saturday.
We'll see you then.